evening. Welcome to another episode of The Blackness Furnace with me, Robert.
With me, Pete.
Man like Mo. Yeah, let me just turn this real quick. So, shimmy down.
And the wives are out. It's just the guys in. Not that that means anything.
The bachelors are about.
These two can't leave the house because they've got children. I'm lazy. I'm looking forward to Chinese, which I'll be getting after this podcast. Yeah, because don't worry, she won't listen to this one. I won't send her this one. She can listen to the next one.
I could.
Watch PSN of the soundbite. With you saying she's not going to listen to this one.
Hey, Peter, don't be telling Anita how much you spend on tech.
I need to know how much I spend on tech.
Not all of it.
No, she does. Eventually.
Nah, look at him.
Your head went down, bro.
No, I'm looking around. I'm trying to see. Yeah. No, she finds out eventually.
I told her about the routers.
No. She knows it's expensive because I made a big deal out of how capable it is. I haven't told her the price.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hold the gun to me. I hold two to you.
Well, she knows it's expensive, and you don't know the price.
I don't care.
You mentioned one, and you said it was £300, and then you said this one isn't as expensive because that one does like the whole 9 yards, but you still said it's expensive. So I'm assuming
it's
that
not £300.
It's not £300, but it's within the hundreds.
I ain't saying nothing. It's more than she would have spent.
You know what? I actually bought a router from Amazon. It was so abysmal.
She just spoke to me.
It was absolutely abysmal.
She just spoke to me like Robert's pastor. No, not your pastor, your boss.
Not my pastor. Yeah, my line manager.
What to say? Aren't you Robert's pastor? No, I'm joking.
Damn. Unlucky if I'm your pastor.
You'll never be my pastor.
Yeah, bro. Like the internet was actually faster using data than the bandwidth that the router had.
That's mad. You sure it didn't buy like a dial-up modem or something?
Bro, it would have. Yeah, it was painful. So when I put it into Leia's room, so we can still get a decent connection when we're in the bathroom. But you might as well just turn it off and just use your thing.
Why is that important? Why is it important?
Don't you watch YouTube when you're on the toilet?
Okay, well, fair enough. It's not where I think about having the best connection, but yeah.
Yeah, but you're there for at least 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
I've stopped taking my phone to the bathroom because I could be there for hours.
Yeah, you know what? I've tried to do the same because sometimes it's not YouTube you're watching. But yeah.
I was going to say it's reels and shorts and stuff. Okay. That as well, I guess.
Okay.
Moving on.
It's so crazy how like this generation of kids will have no idea about dial-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This generation of kids will have no idea about boredom.
No, they'll still find ways to be bored.
No, bro, it's not the same. Leia will get off the chair from watching videos, walk into the front room and say, I am bored. I'm like, it hasn't even been 10 seconds. You don't know what boredom is. Yeah. You really don't know what boredom is. And it's that constant stimulation. It's that constant needing to do something. And as soon as that stops, okay, I'm bored. No, you're not. You're really not. Sit on a couch for 3 hours with nothing to do.
You sleep.
Or you get a book to read or something. But it's just like, you really don't know boredom.
I want to get a book. I haven't read the book in ages. But anyway, that's what we're talking about today. Blackness Furnace. Sorry. Who's on hot seat this week?
I think it's you, Pete.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, I was in hot seat last week.
I was in a hot seat twice. And then we did a 1-for-1 thing.
Yeah.
And then Robert came in.
Yeah, so it's me.
Yeah.
Cool. Can I go first?
Yes, sir.
All right. Peter, have you heard the phrase before? The apology should be as loud as the offense.
I haven't heard a phrase before, but I understand it.
Okay. What should be the Christian response to such a phrase? Do you think that that's something that Christians should strive for or strive to?
I guess if I'm answering the question, is that something Christians can live by as well? My answer would have to be yes, because it sounds, I probably need to think about this a little bit more, but it sounds plausible. You know, if I step on your toe, I'm not expecting myself to, or if someone's just step on my toe, not step on my toe, if someone steps on my shoes, I'm not expecting the same apology as if they
slaps in the face.
Well, exactly, as if they hit me in the car, slap me in the face. It should be proportionate. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense. I guess the only thing I would add is Christians should be sincere, because it's easy to, if you understand human psychology, as I do, it's easy to say sorry and not mean it. I've said sorry a bunch of times just because it makes you shut up and means you can't say anything. So I think Christians have to be sincere as well. And so that's the only thing I'd probably add to it. But it sounds plausible. At first sort of listen, it sounds like something Christians should subscribe to as well.
Okay, so here's a scenario for you. Let's say you're preaching on Sunday and then you're talking and I say, shut up, Peter. When I apologize.
Wild.
You know what? There was one time I was preaching back when I was in Salvation Army, and then there's this one guy, he heckles me all the time. So I was preaching, and how can you just stand up and shout, "Someone go slap that guy"?
What, was he joking or like...
He was joking.
Yeah.
But it was...
Someone go slap that guy.
But yeah, Peter, if I go, okay, let's say I go and say someone go slap Peter. Is me going to apologize to you in private enough, or because I've insulted you in public, should I then apologize in public as well?
Yeah, no, I think it's because I'm trying to think of how would you apologize in public? Would you heckle me again to apologize?
I'm sorry.
Like, I think, yeah, because it'll be trying to resolve the issue. I think it's sufficient to apologize in private there, sort it out between each other, and then if you want to do a public thing or if it needs to be said, then it can be said. I don't think I can apply like a principle to it across the board. Some things will require private dealing things through. Some things will require a public apology or on the same platform. Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle in their show. Apparently, Chris Rock was like "F your public apology" or something to Will Smith's hostage video that he did using Chris Rock's words. So, something like that. And but they're not Christian. So again, and that's why I think sincerity is such an important thing, because again, Will Smith's hostage video, how sincere was it, and how much was it damage control on a source of income? So I think that's why sincerity is such an important thing, and whether or not sincerity can be honestly presented through, I'm just going to do this publicly, open letter with everyone watching, is another question. Or if it's, I'm looking at you dead in your eye, apologizing, telling you why, how I know it's wrong, how I'm not going to do it again, sort of thing. Yeah. And then apologies are only valid if they bear fruit. Otherwise, what's the whole point? So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that. I was gonna say John the Baptist bear fruit in keeping with repentance.
Yeah, exactly.
And so obviously they went to John the Baptist and confessed their sins, in as much as their sins were not done against John the Baptist. But then he was like, bear fruit in keeping with. So if you're a soldier do X. If you're a tax collector, don't like do X, kind of show that you have repented. But I would also I saw different like categories of saying sorry. So like repentance, like did you mean towards God, towards yourself, towards other people? Because obviously like our greatest offense is towards God, and the loudest way that we can shout or we can say that we are sorry is by proclaiming Jesus in the way we live, by receiving his love, all of them stuff there. Yeah, so I was wondering if it extended to God or if it was just relational between us and other human beings. So that was a question back to you,
I was
Robert.
going to say, Robert, yeah.
As in the clarification.
Oh, to the person.
Okay, then Peter's done his thing.
Yeah, well done.
Peter's done his thing.
Yeah. Also, just before you go, I just want to also throw in there. I know sometimes when you do get slighted, like you might want a public apology because I guess the embarrassment or that person having to go out and be there might make you feel better. I just be careful.
Ego.
Yeah. I'm saying check your heart. Be careful, because even though you've been offended, you might be wanting the apology for the wrong reasons, and then it might not be enough. Because
I was gonna say as well. There's something about public behavior, and so if like say you were preaching, and then the person was like, "Oh, someone go slap that guy." Now, obviously, social norms would make people recognize that, nah, that's not cool. But for someone new to the faith or whatever, he may, so Usman can run this banter here. Like that Usman can run this banter, like it's this banner. And so next person, like pastor's preaching, is like, oh, shut up, man. Like, or whatever, like, and then it almost becomes like a running joke. And so this thing around when it's publicly reestablishing boundaries and standards, which would then, so it's no longer a case of an apology, but so an apology may factor into it, but now it's to reestablish the boundaries and the norms within this setting. And so if like say the new king is addressing the people, and then someone was like, "Oh, someone go slap that guy," fam.
He ain't my king.
It would be a madness. I can almost guarantee that handcuffs will get pulled out. People may throw in a couple bangs, a couple kicks, as they're dragging him into the police car. His head may hit the door. Like, it may be a madness. And again, it's public standards and like the norms and stuff. So even when Peter was doing a madness in Galatians and Paul addressed him publicly to then set a standard for the rest of the people, because Peter's behavior was trickling down to them. Now, obviously, Peter was a leader. But so yeah, I was thinking along the lines of setting a standard, which would include, I would imagine, typically would include an apology, the person recognizing, acknowledging that it was a mistake for me to have done this, and then using that as part of this process of reestablishing the norms of that community, of that setting. Because I can almost guarantee if you did that in a mosque, you get flogged. Yeah, you happy with that, Robert?
I'm very happy with that, Peter.
Sweet. My question, I'm really thinking about this in terms of the clips, because I don't want it to go over a minute. So my question is, how would you walk someone through their approach to the Bible if they were only approaching it from the perspective of trying to get principles and strategies in this new age system. So they were not particularly Christian. They may be, they may not be, but they were like, I want to learn the principles that the Bible presents so that I can live a good life or I can improve my life and stuff. How would you interact with them?
Am I, just to get clarity on your question, am I trying to convince them, or am I trying to address whether or not that's a good way to approach the Bible, or am I trying to?
It's entirely up to you how you want to take it. But like you're talking to someone and they're like, yo, like I've been studying the Bible because I know that the Bible's got principles that we need to live by. And so even like going through the Proverbs and seeing, oh, cool, so I need to do this, I need to do that, going through like how we ought to live, do not kill, do not steal, like
Are
all
these
of them
people
stuff.
Christians? Are these people Christians or trying to be Christians?
New age, they're just trying to get the principles and trying to live, like trying to do their own thing.
Yeah,
because there are people who study the Bible, study the Quran, study all of these things, and they just try to extract the principles and then try to live a quote unquote good life.
No, that is quite literally what New Age is all about, is trying to make it such that they play nicely with all those religions. I'm like, yes, no, there's wisdom here, there's wisdom here, there's wisdom here, but you are God. Russell Brand. No. So I think if you go looking for tools in the Bible, you'll find some. You'll find a lot. And so Proverbs is a good place to go. You can look at the laws of Moses and the way that he dealt with building a social sort of self-policing society framework, the 10 Commandments. All of those things end up being tools if you just want principles that are good to live by. What I would challenge is go to the teachings of Christ, but then not just the turn the other cheek, Good Samaritan sort of stories, but then he who looks lustfully at a woman commits adultery. The reprimand of Peter when he swung a sword to defend Christ, and those things, go to those as well. And I will challenge you to try and live by them without the Holy Spirit. And so I'd really just say it would be you can find useful tools and tips, and America is a good example of this. America's Constitution was written by men who, for the most part, claim to read. I don't want to say claim, but for the most part, took inspiration from the Bible. Abraham Lincoln, I think, is quoted as saying, it's impossible to govern without the Bible. And yet we look at America now. So it's possible to sort of get principles from these things. And there's loads of places to do that. I would suggest that outside of those principles is a undeniable sort of challenge to live righteously. And righteousness requires, I don't know if I'm answering your question, if I'm going off on a tangent, but righteousness doesn't require you to meet XXX standards. Righteousness requires you to be in right standing with God, which is not something you're capable of doing without God. And so it would more or less be, it's an exercise in futility to try and find the secret source to help you live a good life in the Bible, because the Bible points you to God being the only source of a truly good life. Which again, I don't know if that's answering your question, but yeah.
Not particularly, but it's not particularly, but it's a good because I think that this question would be a very tricky one to navigate, because I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, how would I navigate this? Because if this person is like actively looking through multiple faiths for this amalgamation of the right ways to live your life, then arguably he's not particularly looking for a divine figure. He is trying to be the divine. He is trying to be this enlightened individual, whatever.
I think I might question him. I think I might question him and or her and ask, where is your reference point for what is good and what is right?
Yeah. And that's what it boils down to, is that accountability, because we can't derive good and right from well that's what the society is now preaching is you can be your own God, you can be your own sovereignty.
Yeah. You can
And
be your own moral compass.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And if that
Because
case,
even
and if that's the case, you can go murder someone and it'd be okay if you think it's okay. You
no,
know?
because like isn't Shiva both the goddess of death, but the goddess of life? So like God and so with the same hands, like the images of Shiva, she's holding like something representing life, but she's also holding a decapitated head.
She's fluid, bro. She's fluid.
And so if you were to like embody multitudes of faiths and stuff, then the moral compass would be askew, would be like you wouldn't have a real anchor as to what then determines right or wrong. Because even there's a freestyle from Common, I believe, where he's in the same line he's mentioning the Quran and Jesus, or like the Quran and like he's mixing the thing, and it's just like, but it's like, and I'm just like, okay, your freestyle's dope, but what you're saying right now, I'm like, it's a bit. So that there would be a questioning of, there would be, yeah. I don't know how I'd address it myself. I don't know how I'd address it. And that's why I was like, it didn't quite answer the question because I think this one is pretty tricky.
yeah. Because it comes down to, is that something you can do? Yes, you can find principles in the Bible that you want to live by, and it will make you a quote unquote good person.
Yeah.
Is that what the Bible is for? I think no. The Bible isn't for we pick this, we pick this, we pick this, we're good people. The Bible shows us we can't be good people except for God, and thus we need him. Which comes back to what Robert was saying, and you can't be the source of truth because you are yourself transient and you are yourself not thingy. So it's it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you are looking through multiple faiths, then either it's a very surface level search. You are just trying to find the quotes that like tantalize the taste buds or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I can run with this. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's cool. It's a good thing that all of us are stumped.
Yeah, I think it might be good to take them to the passages where Jesus is telling people to do things that are counterintuitive, like if someone slaps you, turn the other cheek. If someone wants your shirt, give them your coat as well, because that goes against the norms, and then I feel like that would then open up a conversation or like at least a debate that you could further have conversations about why Jesus is saying we should do these things.
Yeah,
and then maybe that could be the first plantings.
Do you know what? I think even going off of that, I think I would initially make a distinction between philosophy and religion. So in philosophy, people are trying to think through the best ways to live life. They're thinking through what is life, how do we navigate these things, ethics and blah, blah, blah. So Confucianism, Taoism, Stoicism, all of those things fall under philosophy. Some people have tried to amalgamate them into faiths, but they predominantly fall under philosophy. But when you go to a religious book, they are presenting a God. They're presenting a divine being, either in control of everything or forms part of a cohort of divine beings that control things. And I think I would take them to the book of John. I think like the book of John where Jesus is like, you search the scriptures, but in them you think you find eternal life. But they're the very same that point to me. Again, it's like mentions after he heals the person who was born blind, he's like, I came to give those who are blind sight and take sight away from those who think they can see. And then the Pharisees are like, oh, so what are you trying to say? We're blind. It's like, well, you said you can see, so your sin remains. Like just pointing out that, yo, like this God that you're trying to dance around came to do came to literally take your sight away if you think you can see, to help you see that you can't, and then give you sight. And even like Revelations, you think you can see, but you're blind. Come to me that you may buy eye salve and stuff. So I think I'll take him to the book of John and just really challenge his philosophy, his approach to life. So just be like, yo, Jesus is like, if you think you can do X, it's peak for you. But yeah, but I think again, that would very much depend on the person's disposition and the personality and where the person's at. But yeah, the book of John is currently just giving me haymakers. But yeah, I'm happy with where it is. We're 25 minutes deep.
Cool. All right, let's get into today's topic and a bit of a backstory. So right now it's Friday night, right? Usually we record on Thursday. Usually we record on Thursday, but I think I think the consensus was that I think they were all just feeling a bit heavy.
I was ready to come.
Bro, this guy messaged at like 9 o'clock or something.
Yeah, because you guys were all saying,
yeah, but
they can see your face, you know. They can actually see your face.
Yeah, guys, I'm trying to be emotional here.
Oh, sorry.
You know, Thursday we had some brilliant conversation with straight face.
I'm trying to be emotional here.
Sorry. But yeah, Thursday, Queen of England.
Oh, I didn't know that's where we're going.
I knew that was coming.
Rest in peace. You know, I want to make some jokes, but I also want to talk about something serious at the same time. Okay, so a few jokes.
The meme that Mo sent to us.
The meme was a madness.
That was so funny. And I don't know if it's just me. It's probably not just me, right? But the way people are so distraught that the Queen is dead. I'm like saying that she was an icon, she was a leader. I'm just sitting there like, But in my head I'm thinking, but what did she do? For King, she ain't no Florence Nightingale.
I said the same thing to Anita. You're just heartless. You're just heartless. I'm like, do you know how many people died today? Like, why are we so what did she do? But I just to sort of not just to push back a little bit, because we the only radio we can listen to is Premier stuff, and all three of their stations, they've been doing one program literally all day talking about the Queen. And it sounds like she was at least standing up for her faith to some capacity. So it sounds like she was Christian and standing up for it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I knew a few people who were chaplain to the priest, chaplain to the Queen, and obviously COV. You swear allegiance to the Queen. It's Church of England, like she's the figurehead of the church.
Jesus,
yeah. And yeah, I'm assuming that just based on where you're employed, you are going to hear a lot about it, Robert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not mentioning names or anything, but I reckon you're going to hear a lot about it because
we already got the email this morning about it. We got the email message. Well, yeah. Okay, that's the jokes out of the way. And another piece of news that was also doing the rounds on social media was about the killing of this young man, black man, Chris Carver,
unarmed guy that was shot.
Unarmed guy.
Yeah.
And it was like an interesting juxtaposition, you know, where on one hand you've got the white queen dying, and on the other hand you've got this black guy dying at the hands of the white people, and it's like the more things change, the more things stay the same, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, and it's interesting how there'll be two different types of mourning happening over these two events. You know, one will be met with like jubilation, celebrating this wonderful long life. On the other side, people angry and sad at a life that was cut short. And I know there are already black people that didn't mess with the Queen anyway, because colonialism, slavery, all them things there. But now for this to happen, almost to be almost like I've seen it on the news a bit, but it's kind of been swept under the rug. It's like it's like page 22 news sort of thing. So as black men, growing up in London, for some of us got transported legally, illegally. I'll leave that for you people to decide.
I don't even know who he's talking about.
Just know it ain't me.
I feel like this is trying to send shots all around.
Fam, I came out the womb with that red passport. Just saying.
My passport was red as well.
Was?
It is. Well, isn't it black now?
It's a navy blue. It's a dark navy blue. Yeah. If you're from here, you would know that. Just saying. Anyway, I was making a point. Yeah. So, as black men growing up in London, let me just say this before: white people are very defensive when it comes to the Queen.
Yeah. Piers Morgan almost had a fight with someone on the Norton show over. I think he called the person called the Queen that old bag or something like that, and he almost fought him.
He should have, because Piers Morgan deserves a punch in the face.
So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and allow you to speak about our Queen like that. I'm like, raw. You actually stand up for something.
But how do we as black people, or is this even the time to be having these conversations about why we don't want to be celebrating the Queen's life? If that's how we feel. Like for me, I'm neutral about it. And I know there's some people that don't like the Queen. I know there's some people that are angry that Chris isn't being talked about as much. Are these conversations we should be having, starting? And if so, like, how do we go about talking about it?
Because I've heard a funeral isn't the place for the truth. And you normally hear how great a person is, at their wake keeping, or well, as people read their obituaries and memory, whatever.
It's also when the hidden family come.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're African. Well,
free families.
But it's interesting because I think I guess it's the heightened emotional state. It's the loss of a person, loss of a life. Even though people die all the time, people die every day, and at the very worst, this person has quite literally lived a very good life, a very long life. I heard she was somewhere else, Balmoral or something like that.
Balmoral, that's like a holiday home up in Scotland.
Yeah. So quite obviously privileged. I think there needs to be a sensitivity to the heightened emotional state, to the fact that people are, for whatever reason, very invested, very upset. And I think that if you're to have an effective communication, that needs to be considered. Because you can be right and shout the right thing from the rooftop, but if you are not being effective in communicating it, then what's the point? And if people are super upset and this isn't the time to point out, all these things, then are you really helping the cause? And should it be that I'm more interested in being right than I am in being effective in helping the cause? I don't think so. And so I think there are conversation that needs to be had, but I think that we need to be sensitive to the timing.
What is the cause?
Well, the cause would be drawing attention to the fact that, I think there's a radio host that tweeted something. along the lines of racism being abolished in the 60s, but still thriving. And he was asking the question, should black and brown skinned people mourn? And obviously people are like, yeah, they should kick him off of Talk Sport. The cancel trains coming for him. But it's like, it's a good question to ask. And the cause is bringing attention to the fact that, we have a monarchy that quite literally represents the fact that this country, small as we are, went around conquering other countries and making slaves with them. I always am a bit like weirded out by like the Commonwealth Games, because it's quite literally sorry, I think you're muted.
Fam. I can't hear you.
I'm saying, bro, they still have Commonwealth Games of where the countries that they colonized can come together and play sports in front of them.
And it's I'll never forget the meme. It's the Queen sitting there watching them do that march past and going like, "Oh, I used to own all these places."
And bro, she's still sitting on stolen gold with stolen jewels in her crown.
Yeah. Ain't no more.
It's an interesting thing to be here and have that history and have this person that, as you said, is still benefiting from that history, and not feel a way about it and not draw attention to it. So the cause is drawing attention to the fact that that's still a thing. People are still benefiting from it. People are still suffering from it. But is this the time to do that? And is this effective in doing that? Or is this just going to, get swept under the carpet because now you're trying to make something about something else, sort of thing?
But I guess the question is, if not now, then when? When is a good time to have this kind of conversation?
Bro, there is never a good time to have this conversation. White people are always mourning about something. There's always something that they're like, it's never convenient to talk about race. It's never convenient to talk.
But would you agree there are better times?
There are better times, and the death of a public figure, arguably, isn't one of those times. But arguably, especially when it coincides with the innocent killing. Now, again, like I say innocent very tentatively, because I haven't looked into the story to figure out what's going on, like what happened, why was he being chased? Like,
I think it was a car chase.
It was a car chase, but why did they get into the car chase in the first place? Why was he involved in the car? And it's not trying to victim blame or anything like that. I'm just saying I do not know anything about this other than this person got shot. And I'm sorry, I may be black, like all of them things there. I am not about to sink my life into every black endeavor without having the facts. Like, I need to understand, I need to know what I'm fighting for, what I'm rallying against or whatever. So just because he's black and he got killed is very unfortunate, but I don't know the circumstances behind it.
No, but I think sorry, go on, Peter.
I was going to say, because I think the story or the headline as I saw it was the fact that he was also unarmed and he was shot.
Yes.
And so for me, in as much as you're completely right, and I think the Bible even says, it's a fool who decides on the matter before hearing the details. But especially in this country, an unarmed person being shot to death, I think is significant.
Is a step too far. Like, the police officers typically aren't trigger happy.
No, not at all.
They aren't trigger happy.
Get that far. And
from what I have heard, speaking to a police officer, person I'm saying person because I'm not trying to, person mentioned, like, there is a special unit.
Yeah, not even all of them.
Who is not all. There's a special unit who alone are like sanctioned to carry guns.
Yeah.
And so for that unit to have been called out, or for someone from that unit to have been involved, again, I'm like, why was he in the car chase? Why was that unit there? And for that unit to have been involved, then there was at least a suspicion of considerable harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, like I've had police chases right in front of my house where the people drove into another person's house, legged it, like, and the shooting was literally just down the road from us. It was in Streatham Hill, and that's literally like 2 minutes away from my mum's house. And so again, it's just like having lived in these areas, having known, and I'm not trying to say lumping them into categories of other people. I'm just like, yo, like I know, man, them. Not everyone fits the stereotype, but I'm just like, what was the circumstances behind this? There needs to be a thorough investigation. I don't know the circumstances behind it. I can't, but just the escalate. It's not like America where every police officer is carrying a gun.
Yeah, but then I think the problem is like in America, even though we don't have guns, being black is enough of a reason for there to be a suspicion of harm. You could just be walking down the street in an area that you could be walking down, let's say Kensington, you know, as a black person, you'll be deemed as suspicious.
Oh, facts.
Yeah, but there is the very fact that in this country it does get to a certain level before the armed police get involved. Like before there's guns involved, it does have to go up a certain chain. Like we've got a good system there at the very least. We've got a good system there. That means we're not having as many, shootings for no reason. So you are right, but for it I think there is merit to.
It is unfortunate that an unarmed individual got gunned down, where arguably police officers could have used tasers, blah blah blah. Obviously, was it Mark Duggan, obviously, again, unarmed, shot down, riots, stuff like that. And yeah, like these are really unfortunate situations and happenings. But as like it takes a significant either piece of information or whatever lead for the armed police to be called out. And so I'm very much like, yo, why were they called out? Why did this officer have a gun? Like, what's the circumstances behind it? Yes, there needs to be an investigation, yes. But why was it? Why this? And also, I've forgotten the second point.
And I know because speaking to police officers or knowing some police officers and military personnel personally, there's also lots of like protocol and then follow-up paperwork and procedures that they have to go through to justify use of lethal force. So it's not as bad as it is in America, for sure. Which then gives some hope that there will be that investigation, there will be those inquiries, there will be an explanation as to why lethal force was used. Whether or not that explanation is justifiable will become another conversation, because at the end of the day, a human being has been killed. Who, even if he was the worst possible kind of human being, can be redeemed and has intrinsic value as a human being that shouldn't be just thrown away. So
and I think it's there is the victim mentality of as soon as something happens to a black person, we're like, oh look, they're doing it again. Where yes, they might be doing it again. Yes, there may be credibility to that statement, but sometimes that mindset is a very fixed mindset, and we're oppressed, and it doesn't have that ability to be able to critically reflect on ourselves and to see how we can potentially grow, not grow from being killed, but grow as a people group. Grows like, yo, was this person actually doing something bad? Was this person in the wrong? Was it like what? And so, yeah, it's a very tricky and sensitive situation. Again, it's like people are mourning, people are trying to make sense of stuff, people are trying to get answers, and this isn't trying to like look down or speak down on anything. It's like, yes, let's do what we need to do, and let's make sure it's done thoroughly. Let's advocate, let's march, let's do whatever. But as a community, let's move forward. Let's keep consistently taking steps forward, and we can't take steps forward unless we are critically evaluating ourselves and critically actually seeing what can we do, how can we improve our situations. But in terms of, in contrast to the Queen, it's the Queen has lived her life 96 good years
of luxury, by the way. Like,
of luxury.
It should be said.
Of luxury.
Of luxury.
She's lived her life. And so I'm like, yeah, it's sad that she's gone, but she's lived her life.
I was going to say something. I want to say.
I mean, she lived her life and she passed away. My man got killed. Yeah. There's difference to this.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, like he was soon, like he was to become a father. Again.
So there's now a kid without.
There's now a child without a father.
Whereas
who's about to be born.
Whereas all of her children are fine.
You know,
one
like
of
that.
them is going to become a king.
You know, like that.
Nah.
So there are practicalities around it, and I'm just like, yeah, like this. Yeah, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But I am tired of the victim mentality, the remaining in shackles, the not holding ourselves to a standard, and perpetuating a sort of like just living in squalor. I'm not saying like that's what he was doing, but I'm just like, yo, let's step forward. Let's take. It's almost like what you were saying. Be so good they can't deny it. They can't deny the excellence that's coming from this community. Not so much the exact same words, but along those lines.
Yeah. Right,
Robert, I saw you shaking your head.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm just looking around.
Random side note. Then, did having a queen mean anything to any of you guys?
No.
No. I mean, I watched The Crown, and it made me like her a bit more, but. Okay. My life didn't change.
Yeah, I was almost of like the Killmonger disposition.
When I wasn't that far along, but
I was like, because like the crown you're wearing is essentially spoils of war.
No, but you know what? I can't be mad at that. If you win the war, the spoils are yours.
Yeah, but it's like I hear you. But yeah, it's my thing is it's like the Commonwealth situation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you men are parading, man's wearing the crown. It's like, yeah, you might be free now, but man owned you, man. Yeah. Don't forget that. Yeah. Dance for me, monkeys.
I think my thing is, win the war, cool. Winner's the winner. But don't come and then say, equality, all of this good stuff, but still be wearing the crown.
No, like that.
Like your actions match the message.
Yeah.
You know?
Did any of you guys, did the Queen mean anything to you guys?
No.
And it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet, yeah, because so Robert, I believe, no, Peter, were you born here?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Oh, right. So man's the only immigrant from in the furnace.
That's why I didn't know who Robert's shots were at.
I'll send them for you both.
Until he said the passport.
The Ghanaian passport was burgundy as well.
Well, I don't have a Ghanaian passport.
Well, I did. Yeah. It's burgundy as well. So I'm like, Ghana was a British colony, I believe. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Ghana was a very British. sorry, I'm getting heated.
The first ones to break free.
I'm on Dr.
Yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah. My thing is, as an immigrant, I have gratitude for living here. That there's a level of gratitude that I have, because my mum jumped through hoops to get not only myself but my sisters here. And then whilst here, we've been integrated into society and we've gained access to the infrastructure and blah, blah, blah. So by virtue of, and it wouldn't just be wherever I would have immigrated to, I would have had gratitude for that environment, that structure, that system, that government accepting me into their space. And some level of gratitude for those who have paved the way for that environment to be what it is.
Okay.
And so there is a level of gratitude that I have. Now, is it directed towards the Queen? Not particularly. I think it's directed to just the UK as a space, as a place, as whatever. There is this level of gratitude that, because I wouldn't be who I am right now without what it has afforded me. Now, the Queen is the monarch, or was the monarch of this place. And so there is a level of that where it's just like, yo, like, this is your land that has accepted me and has brought me into this place. But there is a twinge of bitterness, recognizing the history, recognizing the past, recognizing like how it became what it was, and also recognizing the residue, the present residue of that history in terms of racism and systemic stuff. And so it is a bittersweet. Well, I say bittersweet. It's not sweet that she's dead. Nah, that's not it. But it's like a bittersweet relationship that I have with this place.
I think it's she, as far as I know, it's just another person that, you know, some taxes go to for whatever reason. Now, it's now that she's passed on, like, literally Premier Radio, like I said, there are 3 stations that are all running the same program talking about her. I'm now hearing that, you know, she supported Scripture Union and did a lot of philanthropic things for the church. That's now where I'm sort of like, oh, okay, you know, she was an advocate for the church as the, you know, head of the Church of England. So that's where I'm like, okay, cool. But even then, it's like, well done on stewarding the stuff that your parents stole from Africa and giving some of it to the church. Cool. That's nice. At least. But
for stewarding your generational sins.
You know, it's like she died among however many died yesterday. And she lived 96, as I said, in luxury.
She lived a good life.
It's, you know, and that's the other thing as well, is death in and of itself ends up just being the step to the next place. And the concern rather would be with, where is she going to spend eternity? Where are everyone that died yesterday going to spend eternity? Where are we going to spend eternity when eventually we die? That should be the greater concern. But just dying, just dying. So
yeah, I think it's. How do you feel, Robert? Oh, you said you don't care.
I don't care.
It's interesting, having been in the COV circles, seeing their response.
yeah,
that has been very interesting. Because was it Philip who passed away first?
Yeah, rest in peace.
So it was interesting seeing the response to him, and now seeing a response to the Queen. Even there was a guy that I know who got interviewed, and he proper like took the soundbite of the interview and posted it on his Instagram and then like did a story, whole situation thing. And there is this real sense of yeah, and I think
I can't lie, it's idol worship what's happening right now.
That's the thing. That's the thing where I'm just like, that's what I don't get. It's like I get she's a queen. I get queen.
And the thing is, she's a queen that doesn't make rules or
she's a figurehead.
She's a figurehead.
And I get because even when I was in Ghana, like the king or the queen of my little town or whatever would die and I wouldn't care. The only thing that I would care about is, and this is the maddest part, the only thing that I would care about is when a king dies, what they used to do was, and I don't know if they actually did it, but this is what I was told. If they would catch stray kids and behead them and then put their heads around the king's coffin so that the spirits of the kids would protect the king.
I mean, that kind of sounds hard, but hey.
It's like there was a procession of the king's casket going through the town. And the advice was, don't go to see it.
They could catch you.
Because they could catch you.
Yeah. I know in villages in Ghana as well, when the king or chief dies, no funerals are held until the chief is buried. And so your husband could die and then he needs to sit at the mortuary until they do that. So there is that. I think it's definitely, there's definitely an element of idol worship.
Yeah.
And I've had to be very sensitive to sort of speak in my mind because, they're like at work, they're like, oh, should we change our profile picture to show solidarity? And I'm like, yo, it's so cool, man. But it's like, yeah, it's...
Wait, as in your individual profile pictures or the company's profile picture?
Individual profile pictures.
Yeah, drop me out. Drop me out. Drop me out. Drop me out.
She did. I must say, because I learned it like recently, it sounds like she did do a lot for the church.
And do you know what? Having been in the COV circles, yeah. I agree. I do agree that I've heard a lot about her. I don't know the actual things that she did, but I've heard people saying how she has protected and she has invested and she has pushed forward the Christian agenda within the UK and stuff as far as her power kind of extends.
Now, if I saw that more, definitely I'd be a bigger fan because this is a super secular country.
Yeah, but I guess it's almost don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing type situation.
Possibly, yeah. Because it does sound like she was doing a lot, and she wasn't. She was obviously not actively broadcasting, so you could very well be right there.
Because one of the people that I know personally was a chaplain to the Queen, and she was like, "Yo, like the Queen has got a really deep and rich and like vibrant faith." And she's actively like pondering on faith, on Christ, on just like how to kind of do things. And when she said it, there was a sincerity in the way that she said it, and it was like, I'm not just saying this because I'm a chaplain, but like there was a deep conviction as to the validity and the truth of how she was kind of going about it.
Maybe Sunday she might have felt frustrated, like, yo, King, whatever, could do the crusades and kill people. Why can't I just...
All right.
You're so stupid, bro. Let's round up because there was a joke I heard. I want to tell you guys, but I can't do it on the podcast.
Cool.
Hookups.
Can I go first?
You can.
Yeah.
My hookup will be a app. It's an app for listening to podcasts. It's called Snipped, SNIPD. And the unique thing about it is, you might make notes in Audible, in Kindle, highlight stuff. Snip gives you the opportunity to do that with podcasts as well. So when you hear something you like, you can click to make a snip, and it uses AI to figure out the beginning of that point, and where you select it to end, and creates a little clip for you to archive and send off and use. And it's essentially gives you the opportunity to highlight your podcast. So yeah, check it out. I've literally moved all of my podcasts that aren't just entertainment to it, and podcasts that I normally would want to highlight stuff in. I am listening to that in Snip now, and it's free. So check it
For
out.
now.
Hey, Peter be listening to mad podcasts, boy.
Yeah. So, yeah, check it out. Snip. I think it's on Apple and Android. So yeah.
If I can go next, I think mine would be a book. Like my reading is just exploding, which is good. But I'm starting to recognize trends and habits and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, you lot are being cheeky right now. But one that one that I found really helpful is a book called Attached. I'll send the group the actual book, but it speaks about attachment theory and attachment styles. So I think they're like subsections, but the three main one is avoidant, anxious, and securely attached. And it kind of breaks down those different ones, and how the ideal attachment style is securely attached. And it kind of helps you navigate wherever you may be, wherever the deficiencies may be. Actually, no, I may switch it to anxiously attached, which is the one that I've actually read, because I have an anxious attachment style, and it actually walks you through certain things that you can do to actually move towards being securely attached. And it's a very what's the word? It's a good enough book to give you strategies, but also it isn't going to lull you into a false sense of security that it's going to be happily ever after. But there's still needing to be work, and you still need to be conscious about it. So it doesn't give you a false sense of security. Yeah, it's a balanced book that gives you tangible things to be able to kind of work through in your pursuit to be more securely attached. So that book that I mentioned specifically is called Anxiously Attached. I will send the author to the group, but yeah, that will be my hookup.
Cool. My hookup will be a game. It's a card game. It's called Cockroach Poker. Yeah, it's a nice little game. It's 64 cards. You've got 8 different creatures on it, 8 of each kind. And you're trying to guess. So someone will put a card down and say, this is like, let's say it's a cockroach. You have to try and guess whether they're telling the truth or telling them not. Telling them not. If you guess right, the card goes in front of them. If you guess wrong, you put the card in front of you. When you get 4 of the same kind of creature in front of you, you lose the game, and the game's over. It's a great little game. Teaches people how to lie.
Wow. So the first person who loses, the game is over. And you're out.
Yeah. It's not. It's not. You're not trying to win. You're trying to not lose. Yeah, it's a nice little game. But
so it's not a case of playing the next round with that person not in it.
No.
Like the game's done.
Yeah, okay. The game's done. And that's a nice little game. Let's round up. I don't think I've got time to go to Chinese, which is a bit sad.
Which is good.
I'm gonna try to.
All right, let's round up then.
Cool. Shout out to Root for the intro, outro music. Calvin Turner for the Audrey Mays logo. Twitter at The Furnace UK. Instagram at TBS Furnace. Email tbsfurnace@hotmail.com. You can find us at soundcloud.com/Black's Furnace. On all good podcast websites and apps, The Black's Furnace with no apostrophe, no with an apostrophe, and that's it. So this is the blacksmith furnace signing
there
up.
was a point. There was a thing I wanted to discuss that I think the listeners will.
Get up! You demon!
Matt said, "You demon."
Robert, cut off fast. Cool. All right.
This is the blacksmith furnace signing out. Wow. You villain, bro. Anyway, the joke